Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm actor-director Ben Giroux. I'm so excited to be doing my episode of Lip Roll with Valerie Morehouse today. I use my voice as an actor and a digital content creator to bring you back to nostalgic times.
Welcome to Lip Roll. My name is Valerie Morehouse. I have a unique privilege to work with some of today's most influential and iconic voices as a celebrity vocal coach. This is a show where my guests and I are able to peel back the curtain and kind of bring you backstage and paint a picture of what it's like to be an artist, an actor, a broadcaster, and beyond, while still confronting all the challenges of mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. Welcome to Lip Roll.
So welcome to Lip Roll. We're cracking up off air and on air. I'm your host, Valerie Morehouse.
And I'm your co-host, Ella London.
Hi, Ella.
Hi. So not to put you on the spot or anything, but I would love to know who your favorite guest to date is.
How can I choose? That's not fair.
I triple dog dare you.
Okay.
Haha, you have to say.
Okay, our favorite guest. My favorite guest.
Your favorite guest.
I don't know. How am I supposed to pick that?
You have to. I triple dog dared you.
Oh my God. I mean, Ben.
Yeah, good answer.
Well,
if it wasn't me, I was going to have to really bring it today.
Right?
Well, I was going to say that they may have some competition, but he's going to be competing against himself because our guest today has voiced many characters, including Robin in the new movie Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. His digital content has well over 150 million views. His viral song Back to the 90s charted number 11 on Billboard. He is half of the comedy music duo Ben and Jensen, as well as being a director and writer. The list of his credits go on and on and on. He is
Ben Giroux. We said that
You
right?
did,
right?
yeah. And
yes.
it's so funny, growing up, having a silent X in my last name. I was like, hi, is Ben Giroux here? I was like, yeah, that's me. It's good enough. Close enough.
But it could be a number of things, but X would be sort of French.
Yeah, if you trace it back far enough, it's French.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a silent X,
It
so
is.
hence Giroux.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm glad we got that right. Thank you, Ella.
It's
Well,
awesome.
thank you for joining us
Thank
on
you
Lip
so
Roll
much for
today.
having me.
Great to have you. And we're literally actually going to go into the future right now because when this episode comes out, your follow-up to your viral Back to the 90s video just released yesterday.
Yay.
And it is called...
Back to the 80s.
I mean, I couldn't stop playing Back to the 90s when it came out.
Thank
but
you.
being born in the 80s, it's like I just have to, this is definitely
I think I'm probably the only person in the room that caught every single reference. Since I was born in 1971 and graduated in 1989 from high school, so
This is
I
your
got
decade.
every single one of those.
Well, what was so interesting is when we put Back to the 90s out, it really resonated. It got 100 million views and we got comments, thousands and thousands of comments from all over the world. The thing that was so fascinating to me was when we initially put that project out, I thought, well, okay, people are just gonna, in their late 20s, early 30s, it's gonna really resonate. And then beyond that, no one's gonna get it. And we had teenagers that didn't even live through the 90s reaching out saying like, oh my God, this was so cool. People who weren't kids in the 90s reaching out saying that they still had these wistful waves of nostalgia. So I think in creating this project, the thing that was so fascinating for us was, I don't know, I was born in 1984. I don't know if the 80s are really going to sort of emotionally resonate as much. And then as we started going through it, I was like, oh man, I remember all of this stuff. This is like...
I think so if you're looking back at some of those older films now, because the 80s even in music is coming back, and it has been coming back. So I think it will, as you said, it's going to resonate more than you think.
Do you think your big hair is going to come back?
Not a
I
chance.
have pictures.
My kids always joke. They're like, Mom, my son said to me, a little digression the other day, we were pulling out old photos from high school because I just went to my 30-year high school reunion. And my son looks at me and says, he goes, Mom, how come everybody's hair was like curly and poofy? I said, we didn't have tools back then, Dev. Okay, we had no flat irons. We didn't have little extensions on our hair dryers. We didn't know how to do our hair.
Oh, yeah.
What you had is what you had. You put a little bit of stuff in it and you went to school. That was it.
we bought hundreds of wigs for this video. When we did the 90s video, it's like, 90s hairstyles are goofy, but not as out there. We didn't have to do as many wigs.
Right.
This one, I mean, thousands of dollars were spent on the wigs alone. It was crazy.
It's so great. So, question, did you shoot this in 2 days like you did with the other one?
No. So, one of our selling points on Back to the 90s is we had found a way to create all of that, recreate the entire 90s decade in 2 production days.
Wow.
2 very well thought out, meticulously planned production days. 80s, we knew we didn't want to just do what we did for 90s. We sat down, we said, okay, how could we take a song and make every half of every line a different iconic setup?
Wow.
And we didn't even know if that was visually digestible as a viewer. And then I sat down with a commercial producer buddy and I said, all right, man, like, if budget was not a consideration, given this song that we have constructed, what would you say it would take? And he said, well, I think probably 14 production days at a bare minimum and at least $1 million. And we were like, well, we can't do that. So
if budget now becomes
now that it's a consideration. So miraculously, my team pulled this off in 7 production days over the course of 6 months.
Wow.
And our whole team are working professionals. So everybody's on set routinely for commercials and TV, movies. And so on the weekends, we would sort of plan this out and, hey, we got the DeLorean time machine on this date, so let's try to find a backlot and let's get everybody together. Or, hey, we got the Knight Rider kit car.
Love it.
Let's roll it onto this driveway. Routinely, one of the things that we have found is when we are sort of up against the wall with production and we're trying to find ways to cheat things, is we backlight it and we throw a fog machine on there and it always looks epic.
Gotta love the fog machine.
There's a lot of fog happening in this video.
And colorful lights.
Yeah, so seven production days to literally recreate an entire decade.
That's amazing. How fun, though.
That's so crazy. I mean, it's like you really, so you're taking it from the idea and putting a voice to that. I mean, the process, obviously you have those production days, but there is so much as a digital content creator, because a lot of people want to be doing that these days. And I think they all a lot of them want to do it because you're seeing all the views and it's like, ooh, fun. But give us a little bit of behind the scenes snapshot of what it's really like.
I would say for years I was making things I felt like I should be making. And I was doing the typical YouTuber thing where I was churning out content at an unsustainable pace.
Right.
And, because that's what they tell you. They say, hey, if you want to really make some noise online, you want to churn out a video 5, 6, 7 days a week, sometimes multiple videos a day. And
2 full-time jobs.
it's a complete full-time job.
Yeah,
and,
it's a lot.
And I come from the television actor world. I'm a commercial director, so that was not really sustainable for me. Nor did I want to be putting out content that was subpar in terms of quality. And inevitably, if you're churning out content every week, it's not all going to be great.
Right.
And so I've adopted what is, I would say, a bit of a unique model, which is
Quality?
I'm going to put something, quality.
Quality.
I'm going to put 1 or 2 things out a year.
Right.
Love that.
And I want each of those things to have so much hype and so much buildup and so much attention to detail that people are going to say, you know what? I haven't seen something from this guy in a while. Or in the case of me and Jensen, this sort of comedy hip hop duo. Let's see. I'll give you 4 or 5 minutes of my time. And so I want anything that I put out to be mind blowing.
Yeah.
And so that's the approach that we've taken, certainly with all of these music videos that we've been up to. It's what my team takes with, all of our comedy pitches and our comedy shorts and our television shows we're trying to develop. It's how can we not necessarily churn out the most stuff, but how can we make absolutely mind blowing content when we do rarely release stuff.
And it is. Just watching through your YouTube, you're just like in seventh heaven. It's so great. Just every single thing.
Thank you.
It's creative and mind blowing. So mission accomplished.
So what about marketing after your release? How does that play for you?
Yeah. So I think we've gone down the rabbit hole before of like, hey, let's try to fill our project full of influencers and let's try to make our project based on what we think people want to watch.
Right.
And I think, I sort of referenced this earlier, but I was sort of making a lot originally based on what I thought I should be doing. And as soon as I replaced that word should with the word want. What do I actually want to make? And who do I want to make it with?
Right.
And if what I'm making is something I would actually want to be watching, then I think that the audience can sense that that's coming from an organic place. It's coming from a genuine, happy place. You know, some of the most fun of my life is making Back to the 80s and Back to the 90s, because we're running around in mullets and with, in 90s and Tamagotchis and Furbies, and with our 80s thing, we're sitting in the DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future. It's like all my film school dreams coming true all at the same time.
By the way, I never saw a mullet in the 80s ever once, but I also was raised, I was raised in England. but came back at 10 to America, and it was sort of Orange County, LA. I think that was sort of in certain states. I'd never seen a mullet.
I can tell you, as a guy from Phoenix, Arizona,
did you see
a lot
maybe
of mullets.
Maybe it was
Yeah, I saw a lot of mullets.
Did you
growing
really?
up. Yeah.
Well, I know one of my school friends had one mistakenly.
Really?
I think it was like late 80s, early 90s. And
I mean,
the poor girl had a mullet.
Even as a kid, I mean, I had a mullet.
Oh, that's
for
awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We need to see those photos.
If only my hair could grow
hilarious.
into a
So
mullet
great.
now.
That's
Yeah.
so great. So the next one, I'm curious, because I know this one's just released, but I'm curious, are you going to kind of fast forward a little bit to the 2000s, or are you going to backtrack to the 70s? Which way are we going?
Well, what's interesting is, like, we definitely want to do a 2000s music video. My partnership with Jensen has been really fascinating because I come from the sort of the comedy TV world. He is a brilliant songwriter and hip hop artist. And together we originally joined forces on a music video called Little Dude Anthem, which was, I was doing stand up as a short guy for a number of years about being short. And I wanted to do this Busta Rhymes kind of music video about being short. And so we sort of joined forces. I met him via the voiceover world. And then it was supposed to be a one-off project. And we were like, well, let's see where this sort of comedy hip-hop partnership can actually go. We stumbled our way into hundreds of millions of views with our nostalgia-based music videos. But in answer to your question, we don't want to just be the nostalgia guys.
Sure.
Certainly, we want to do more nostalgia-based music videos. But ultimately, our vision for our comedy hip-hop partnership is we want Pepsi or Verizon or a big brand to come to us and say, like, hey, like, we know you're the comedy hip hop guys. You're the new Lonely Island. Go create this funny music commercial campaign or branded campaign. That's ultimately the way that we can start to monetize this, because while this is super fun to be putting out these videos and we love creating this global audience, we're bleeding our wallets dry.
Right.
I was wondering about that.
Because it's a passion project,
It's
right?
passion, yeah.
And look, with after 90s blew up, we were like, oh, this is huge. We're going to be able to find a brand. And ultimately, we had a couple of different opportunities. But as you bring on brands to your and companies to your passion projects, you release a little bit of that creative freedom.
It's true.
And
Yeah.
ultimately, we wanted to create an epic follow-up sequel to Back to the 90s that was inherently us.
Right.
And the only way to do that was to do it as a passion project.
Well, that's where the best things come from. Passion. We started Lip Roll as a passion project. Still is a passion project, right?
Still a passion project.
Yeah. So we completely understand that. But
Absolutely.
something does come of it. It's the long game.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is playing the long game, I think. So
100%. But I do think, like, at my core, if I want to be doing it, if it's something that really feels like something I want to be making,
Right.
then let's
Right.
find a way to get it done, because
yeah, I mean, we totally identify with that. I mean, voices are the reason that we started this podcast.
Yeah.
We started Lip Roll, right? As a voice actor, tell us a little bit about that and some of the characters that you've portrayed.
Yeah, so I have done a ton of work with Nickelodeon, and it's fun because, like, as a kid growing up in the 90s, I grew up watching Ren and Stimpy and
Ren and
Doug
Stimpy!
and
That's something I haven't heard in a long time.
Rugrats. And so I was a big fan of Nickelodeon animation as a kid, and so things sort of came very full circle for me a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I got my own animation series
Amazing.
called Bunsen is a Beast. Our showrunner was Butch Hartman, who did Fairly Odd Parents for a number of years. And so leading my own show was awesome. It was a dream come true, and that sort of ingratiated me over there. So now, I'm sort of recurring on The Loud House, and I do voices on Rocky and Bullwinkle, on Amazon. I just did Blaze and the Monster Machines. Just did this Robin role in this Batman animated film,
So cool.
which was a blast. Very weird coalescing of things in my life. My parents own a comic book store, and so I grew
cool.
up voicing, doing character voices and drawing comics and stuff, and being in and around a comic book store. So to get the role of Robin I felt like sort of this weight, but it was great. It was a lot of fun.
How did you approach creating that voice? Because like you said, it's very iconic and it was like a real big moment for
Well,
you.
interestingly, there's a variety of different Robin versions, and I was playing the Damian Wayne version, which is the 10-year-old son of Batman.
Yes.
So a lot of the animated roles that I get tend to be a little more up here, and I'm kind of like this, and I sort of like, I play a lot of like, younger guys.
I'm loving this.
And like, it's funny because I've actually, I've been nursing this very fun seasonal cough all week, but we'll see if I can get up to do my Mikey Monroe. I can't really do it, but I do a lot of like high pitch. It's not going to happen today, but
We got it though.
We
got it.
So I do a lot of like high pitched, like younger characters. That's sort of like a niche of mine.
Yeah.
And it's been a blast working with Nickelodeon. They've been really, really cool to me over the years on a variety of different series, both live action and animated. And so I always say the one thing about animation that I love the most is it's the one piece of the entertainment industry that has no anxiety attached to it whatsoever. Anything else.
We need more of that.
Yeah, right?
All
Anything else
all my artists are suffering from anxiety, and
100%.
yeah, it's a
Because
lot.
think about it. You're in a typical on-camera thing or a music video or whatever it is.
TV, live
as a
TV.
director, as an actor, whether I'm on camera or off camera, I'm like going over my shot list, or I'm racing to remember my lines, or I'm trying to impress people. Voiceover, you have the lines right in front of you.
Right.
You can look however you want.
Yeah.
You walk in.
PJs.
And you're just a goofball.
Yeah.
And so it's a pleasure and an honor truly to get to do cartoon voices, because it's it just makes you feel like a kid again. As on topic with nostalgia, like we talked about.
You're like, I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
awesome.
the voice that I did on Bunsen as a Beast for 2 years
Yeah.
was the voice I used to run around the house terrorizing my little sister with.
Oh, that's
Genius.
hilarious.
So you're basically drawing from
And I
your childhood.
literally
Yeah.
got paid for a voice I used to
You're
annoy
like,
her with.
sister, don't watch this show. You're going to get really annoyed.
Exactly, exactly.
So on Lip Roll, we talk a lot about spiritual, mental, and physical health.
Sure.
And even though, like you said, the anxiety level is a lot lower for voice actors, like you're saying you're dealing with a seasonal cough, how do you stay at the top of your game when you have, because oftentimes you're in the studio all day just talking,
100%,
and
yeah.
you're in these voices that aren't in your natural pitch. So, do you have, tips on how you keep yourself at that level?
Or even when I'm on set, plenty of those production days for Back to the 80s, we were on set for 16, 17, 18
That's a
hours.
long
And I'm
day.
there sort of on camera and off camera, shouting directions and then running on frame. So look, I think for 10 years, all I would do was accommodate entertainment in my life. If I had a flight or somebody's wedding to attend, if an opportunity came up with entertainment, I would find a way to sort of cancel the existing plans and serve the idea of entertainment. And that was unhealthy. I think ultimately the biggest thing that we can do as artists, as entertainers, as actors, as directors, whatever we are, is find balance. And so the biggest thing that I was able to do 10 years in was find hobbies. Find things completely outside of entertainment that allowed me to disconnect. So, we talked about sort of health and well-being. For me, it's super random. I love doing Spartan race, obstacle course races. And it's a great excuse to travel around the country. It's a great excuse to run around with a spear in your hand and a bucket full of gravel and a log on your shoulder. But at its core, I love it because it has nothing to do with acting or directing or entertainment or creating.
Right.
It's just, hey, I've got a finish line and I'm out here with all these badass people. Let's find a way to get ourselves to the finish line.
Yeah.
And just do something new and challenging.
I love that. Yeah,
and
she knows if I don't get to lift or run, I get cranky.
Yeah,
it's
same.
just my happy
Yeah.
place.
I'm
'cause
the same way. So fitness for me.
An athlete first, as much as I am a voice coach and a musician. So
100%. Fitness. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, fitness is my escape. I try to work out almost every day. I go do something.
Yeah.
You know, and I go to my gym, and it's the one time I'm away from my phone. And you get to know, I go to a gym that's sort of like high intensity interval training. And so you get to know the coaches and the rest of the community, and it becomes a group of friends. And it's my time away from, sometimes I'll even on a silly Apple Watch that just sort of like all constantly bugging you all day long.
That's why I don't have one.
And, well, I'll turn off the notifications at the gym. I'll just like, hey, I'm at the gym. I'm doing my thing. And so ultimately, in answer to your question, I think it's about finding balance. It's about finding hobbies, finding things that excite you that are outside of what your career paths are.
Routine, right?
Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Because one of the things I always say is travel for me has become a big part of my life. And one of the things I like to say is nobody gives a shit about your Modern Family callback in Italy.
I love that.
I've auditioned for Modern Family a million times. I use that as a silly example, but like it's true. When you're like running around, Florence by yourself, like it doesn't really matter that you didn't get that acting job.
I love that you said that. I just had this conversation with two of my clients yesterday who are in the thick of it, ready to go on tour. And I said, you know what? You're just not that fucking special. I mean, nobody cares.
No one cares.
You can make a mistake. It's okay. The only person that cares is you.
100%. And I think
it's not.
That's so important too in how we curate the group of people, the group of artists around us. I've got a production team, 200 people deep, that are incredibly talented human beings that have been very carefully curated over a number of years, who come out and make these incredible music videos and TV shows and projects that we're working on. And our only policy on set is a no asshole policy.
I love that.
Truly, it's the greatest group of people in the world. You get on set, like throughout back to the 80s, if you were to be on set with us at any moment, everyone was howling with laughter. These are people who are like lifting heavy things and working crazy hours, many of whom are not being paid because it's a passion project. And everybody is there for this incredible common goal. And that's something that both Jensen and I try to really champion on set is no matter how exhausted you are, no matter how seemingly insurmountable the obstacle is on set, as long as you're having a good time and you're setting this precedent of positive energy, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah, it just comes from the top. It trickles down.
Yeah.
And we've
It really
had projects where it's been toxic on set, and then other projects where it's just a joy to be there, so it's nice that you have that policy because it's so important in a creative environment, especially when you're not getting paid.
Right. I mean, it's all about the energy that you feel in a project, and you see that from the finished result as well. You can feel the energy from the content that you create and just the positivity that it brings to the world.
And it's not just me, it's not just Jensen, we've got such incredible people that that are truly geniuses in every department. Our director of photography, our production designer, our wardrobe designer, our hair and makeup designer. And the thing that I really love to do is pay it forward, right? So like if people are willing to come out for literally a 6-month period to shoot a crazy music video about growing up in the 80s, then I am going to be incredibly loyal to them and hire them on every commercial that pops up and every television opportunity that pops up so that you really create this family and this shorthand. We were all just on set a few days ago actually, which is why my voice is a little tender today, because we're creating a new sort of network comedy pilot that we've all brought in to do.
I saw that.
Which we're very excited about,
exciting.
and hopefully it goes.
Yeah.
But it's the same team that made Back to the 80s because it's as soon as there's an opportunity to get back on set with the people that help me with passion projects, the dream is to go get to do that every day.
Yeah,
but do it with somebody else's money.
Right, exactly. And the reciprocity is huge, right?
Yeah. So as far as voice acting goes, I mean, obviously super fun. Any advice that you have for people that, want to kind of get into that?
Sure, yeah. It's funny. I probably get 5 to 10 messages a week from people on various social media platforms about, hey, I'm thinking about diving into voiceover. So the first thing I would do is take a workshop. Voiceover is not just, you just talk in front of a microphone. No, you got to be a good actor.
Yeah.
So even outside of voiceover, just take an acting class. Like make sure that your acting chops are solid. Then when you feel solid with your acting chops, learn mic technique, go to a workshop and learn the logistics of actual voice acting. Learn if you're somebody that likes to listen to your voice with cans while you perform, or if you like to do it without. I'm somebody that loves to be able to hear what I'm doing because I can dial in the specifics of my voice a little better.
Right.
And then the other thing that I say is put a reel together. There's a number of people in town that put excellent voiceover reels together, and I would say first and foremost start commercially. Put a 60-second commercial reel together of the various different cadences of your natural speaking voice and how you would deliver commercial copy. Animation comes later, but when you learn the tricks of the trade with commercial voiceover and promo voiceover,
coming up on an all-new blah 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 8/7 Central, only on Nick.
Like when you learn the different styles of voice acting, then the animation is sort of that last piece to fall in place. But putting that reel together is definitely the thing that'll open you up to professional voiceover representation. And
great advice.
Yeah.
And I know we love hearing all the, nitty gritty of the how to in this world, because I think we often see the end result and not realize all the work that has to go in before we launch into anything.
I think you could look at that. I'll use both of the things that I'm doing as an example, like with music videos and the level of production quality that you saw in Back to the 80s. That was completely impossible for me and my team 10 years ago.
Right.
But, I used to be a guy that would run around with 2 guys and a camera and a couple of lights, and then the next shoot it's like, well, maybe we'll add a makeup person and a production designer, and then what if we added like a gaffer and a grip, and you start to see it expand, so that ultimately it turns into, after many years, 200 people running around with the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
That's so
on
cool,
a back
though.
And voiceover too. It's a great thing to bring up. It took me a full year when I got my first voiceover agent years ago. It took me a full year to book my first commercial job. It took me a second year to book my second job, and it took me 10 years to book my first animated series. So everything that you care about is a marathon. For me, I'm interested in a variety of things. It sounds like you are as well.
Yes.
That anything that's worth a damn is going to take some time. And it's about putting in the work.
I'm going to stick that in my studio,
Anything
on my
that's
door
worth a
for my
damn.
clients that walk in.
I love that.
So, but
That's
it's even
great.
when you've made it.
Yeah.
You still have to keep working at it. You still have to keep building your team and your people.
Well, I'll use us as an example. We did what seemed like the impossible. We put out a passion project 2 years ago, back to the 90s, and in 1 week, we amassed almost 100 million views. We charted on Billboard. We joined the Backstreet Boys in Las Vegas. And
insane. You're what's happening?
Literally every iconic 90s person from the decade of my youth is tweeting at us. And it was like the craziest week or 2 weeks of my life. And we thought, after that, no problem. People are going to be like piling opportunities onto our laps, and it's going to be easy, and we don't have to really work hard now.
Radio silence.
No, certainly opportunities came, but I've never worked harder.
Right.
Because it's just these little seeds of opportunity that come when you start to get more and more in the public eye.
Right.
But it's what you do with those seeds of opportunity and how hard you're willing to work to see how far you can actually take it.
I love that.
That's huge.
Yeah.
All those little nuggets. And of course, now next passion projects, our audience can find and watch Back to the 80s on your YouTube channel, and can follow you on social media. Where can they find you at?
I'm most active on Instagram, so you can just find me at Ben Giroux, BenGiroux.
Remember the
Love
X
it.
when you're typing, not when you're speaking.
Exactly. I should say that to people. I like that.
Just have these little tags, and where'd she come up with that? And congratulations on Back to the 80s. That's
Thank you so
exciting.
much.
I think that's going to be another big, huge. Hopefully, it will have the same success for you.
We hope so.
Yeah.
We're going to put it out in the world and see what happens.
Love it.
Everybody hold on to your mullets and press play.
Hold on to your mullets.
See, there's another one.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening and joining us on Lip Roll. It was so good to have you, Ben, and so interesting to hear about your journey, and we're going to be following you. So
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.